The alien fleet drifted in silence above the dead moon, their ships glowing with cold blue light. For weeks they had been monitoring strange movements in the outer systems. Now finally the intruders had arrived. The scanners detected them before the eye could see them, warships moving slowly, almost carefully through the black sea of space. The alien commander, Xylar, stood inside the control chamber of the flagship. His eyes, narrow and silver, watched the holographic display form shapes of the unknown vessels. He expected something terrifying, something sharp and massive. Instead, what appeared made him laugh. The human ships looked small. Their designs were clumsy, with uneven plating and exposed weapon mounts. Compared to the sleek and shining bodies of alien warcraft, the human fleet looked old, almost broken. Xylar turned to his officers. "So this is humanity. These are the ones who dared to cross into our space," he said, his voice full of mockery. The officers nodded, their faces showing amusement. For centuries, their empire had faced rivals with strong armor and advanced energy systems. But these new visitors, they looked like nothing more than prey. "Run the scan," Xylar ordered. At once, beams of invisible energy shot out from the alien flagship, wrapping around the human fleet. The scanners began their work, stripping away every layer of information. Metal density, energy signatures, weapon arrays, shield frequency. The chamber filled with streams of data. The first results brought more laughter. The human ships showed weak shield outputs, weapons that looked primitive and power levels far below alien standards. Some vessels even showed engine instability, as if they might break apart under pressure. "They are fragile," one officer said. "Their shields will collapse in minutes." "They will not even reach us," another added. But as the scan pushed deeper, the laughter began to fade. The computers showed strange spikes, brief flashes of energy hidden deep inside the human hulls. They were faint, almost invisible, but they appeared again and again. Small hidden compartments refused to open to the scanners. Some areas of the ships were blocked entirely, as if coated in unknown material. Xylar frowned. "Why can we not see inside?" The chief scanner officer hesitated. "Commander, it is difficult. Their ships are layered strangely. It looks like shadows behind walls. Every time we think we reach the core, there is another wall behind it." The holographic display flickered. The human fleet glowed in ghostly outlines, parts of them transparent, but large sections remained dark, unreadable. "Try again," Xylar demanded. The scan grew stronger, reaching into forbidden frequencies. The ships trembled under the invisible force, but they did not break. Instead, more anomalies appeared. Some human ships showed sudden bursts of radiation that disappeared as quickly as they came. Others showed shapes moving inside their hulls, shapes that did not match engines or weapons. "What is this?" an officer whispered. "Are they hiding something?" The commander's silver eyes narrowed. For the first time, his amusement turned into unease. He had seen many fleets, many enemies. No one had ever built ships like these. "They are trying to trick us," he said slowly. "They want us to believe they are weak." The room fell silent. The alien officers exchanged uncertain glances. It was true. The humans had entered the system boldly, almost inviting battle. If they were truly so fragile, why would they risk it? Why would they bring such weak ships into the center of enemy space? Xylar stared at the dark sections of the scan, the shadows that refused to open. He felt something strange in his chest, something close to fear. Still, he could not show weakness. "They are hiding, yes," he said at last, raising his voice. "But hiding only proves they are afraid. We will crush them before they reveal whatever tricks they have." The officers nodded, but their voices lacked the confidence they had earlier. The unease spread quietly like a shadow in the chamber. Far across the black void, the human fleet continued to drift. Their ships moved in silence, not broadcasting signals, not answering hails. They appeared slow, almost tired, like prey waiting for the predator's strike. Yet deep inside the alien flagship, the scanners continued to struggle. Every time they tried to map the human fleet, the data grew stranger. Energy levels that made no sense, readings that contradicted each other, signs of weapons that should not exist. Finally, one officer whispered what the others feared to say. "Commander, it feels like they are letting us see only what they want us to see." Xylar's eyes sharpened. His claws clicked against the metal rail as he leaned forward. "Then it is a trap," he said. "And if it is a trap, then we must spring it before they do." But even as he spoke, the hologram of the human fleet flickered again, The shadows inside the ship shifted like living things waiting to wake. For the first time, the mighty alien commander felt a cold shiver move across his spine. The scan had revealed much, but perhaps it had revealed too late. Back on Earth, long before the human fleet entered alien space, the plans had already been written in secret. The men and women who built those ships were not only engineers, they were survivors. Humanity had learned through endless wars on their own world that strength was never enough. Survival came through patience, deception, and the will to fight long after stronger enemies gave up. Inside the hidden shipyards buried under asteroid belts, the designs had taken shape. At first glance, the warships looked weak. Their hulls carried scars on purpose, as if they had been repaired too many times. Their engines were built to sputter just slightly, so that scanners would read them as unstable. Their shields gave off faint signals as if ready to collapse. But beneath those layers of false weakness, another story waited. The plating was not broken but adaptive. Each scar was actually a cover for compartments where hidden drones and railguns slept. The sputtering engines were only decoys, hiding the presence of experimental drives that could release bursts of terrifying speed when the moment was right. Humanity had learned to look fragile so that enemies would lower their guard. They understood something no alien empire had ever faced before: the value of appearing weaker than you are. In the command chamber of the lead human vessel, Captain Elias stood silently, watching his own screens flicker with alien scans. He knew they were being read. He knew the enemy thought them weak, and that was exactly what he wanted. The crew around him worked with calm focus. These were not soldiers filled with fear. They were hardened men and women who had grown up in the ruins of Earth's endless conflicts. They had lived through hunger, through storms, through battles where one mistake meant extinction. Now out here in the void, they carried the same lessons. "Enemy scans are complete, Captain," said the tactical officer. "They see what we let them see." Elias nodded. His face carried no smile, no pride, only cold determination. "Good, let them believe it. Fear does not start with what you show. It starts with what you hide." Far away, the alien fleet grew restless. Their commander had already noticed the shadows in the scan, but he did not know their meaning. He believed he had time. He believed he held control. That belief was the true weapon humanity had given him. In the history of human wars, this had always been the pattern. When stronger nations invaded weaker ones, the weaker learned to bend, to trick, to wait until arrogance became weakness. Humanity had used camouflage on Earth. They had hidden weapons in barns, in caves, in broken cities. And now they carried that same spirit into the stars. The alien commander Xylar continued to watch from his flagship. His officers spoke with less certainty now. The scans had left too many unanswered questions. But still, their empire had always won. Why would this time be different? "Commander," one officer said carefully, "if they are hiding something, perhaps we should wait. Perhaps we should observe longer." Xylar's silver eyes flashed. "Wait and give them time to prepare? No, we strike and we strike hard. Whatever tricks they carry will burn with them." His words silenced the chamber, but deep down some officers still felt the unease. Meanwhile, inside the human ship, Captain Elias lowered his eyes to the tactical map. He knew the aliens would attack soon. That was part of the plan. They had to believe they were in control before the trap could close. The crew around him remained steady. Some whispered quietly to themselves, not in fear, but in memory of the lives they left behind. They knew they were far from home, standing against an empire that dwarfed them in numbers and power, but they also knew that humanity had never won by numbers or power. They had always won by becoming what the enemy least expected. Elias remembered the words of the architects who built these ships. "Make them laugh when they see us. Make them relax. Only then will they realize too late." The shadows inside the human warships were not mistakes. They were layers of hidden intent, secrets that no alien scanner could break. Back on the flagship, Xylar's claw tapped impatiently against the command rail. "Enough hesitation," he said. "We will tear them apart. Let the galaxy see that humanity is nothing." But even as he spoke, a strange thought crawled into his mind. If they were truly nothing, why had the humans dared to march straight into enemy space without fear? Why had they come knowing they would be outnumbered, outgunned, surrounded? He shook the thought away, but it did not leave. Across the void, Captain Elias finally spoke again. "They think they know us," he said softly to his crew. "But they know only the shadow we show them. When the time comes, they will see what humanity truly is. The crew answered with silence, not cheers. They did not need cheers. They needed only patience. And so the two fleets drifted closer under the cold light of distant stars. One side trusted in their strength. The other trusted in their shadows. The stage for the first clash was almost set. The stillness of space broke with the first strike. The alien fleet moved as one, their formation sharp and perfect like blades cutting through the void. Their ships, built with centuries of power and pride, glowed with lethal energy. The command to fire came without hesitation, and the black silence filled with streams of burning plasma. The human fleet received the storm. Shields flickered, sparks burst across some hulls, and at first glance it looked exactly as the aliens expected. Weak, clumsy vessels rattling under superior fire. A few human ships even spun slightly off course, their engines flaring in uneven bursts. From the alien flagship, laughter rose again. "Look at them," an officer sneered. "They can barely hold their line." But Captain Elias stood calm on the bridge of his lead ship. His face did not move as the first wave hit. He had known this moment would come, and he had prepared for it. "Hold shields steady," he ordered. His crew obeyed. Though the shields trembled, they held just enough. Not too strong, not too weak, exactly as planned. The alien commander Xylar leaned closer to his display. He had expected the human fleet to fall quickly, but they did not. They staggered, yes, but they did not break. The weak ships clung to formation like wounded animals, refusing to collapse. "Strange," he muttered. "They should be falling apart." "Perhaps they have more strength than we thought," one officer whispered. Xylar silenced him with a glare.
"No, they are only delaying the inevitable."
"Increase fire!" The alien fleet pressed harder. Beams of light lanced across the void, tearing into the human line. But then something happened that none of the aliens expected. The humans began to move, not in clean, calculated formations like their enemies, but in chaotic bursts. One ship would dive sharply down while another spun upward, engines flaring like sparks. It looked messy, disorganized, almost desperate. Yet somehow every movement worked. Alien shots that should have hit now missed. Predictable targeting systems failed against maneuvers no computer could calculate. Xylar's silver eyes widened. Why are they moving like that? It makes no sense. On the human flagship, Captain Elias spoke softly to his pilots through the comms. "Do not move like machines. Move like humans. Be unpredictable, be wild. Make them think we are breaking." The pilots obeyed. They flew with instinct, with sudden decisions that made no logic but carried the rhythm of survival. On Earth, in skies filled with smoke and fire, their ancestors had fought the same way. Outnumbered, outgunned, but never predictable. Alien computers screamed with errors. Target locks failed again and again. Their weapons were built to fight order with greater order. They had never faced chaos that felt alive. Then came the moment the humans had waited for. A hidden hatch slid open on one of the damaged vessels. From its shadowed hull, a swarm of small drones launched into space. Silent and visible to scanners until they were already too close, they streaked toward the alien ships. What is this?" an alien officer shouted. The drones slammed into alien shields, piercing with strange kinetic charges. They were not built like normal weapons. They did not look advanced. They looked simple, brutal, raw, yet they tore holes where no one thought possible. Before the aliens could recover, another surprise followed. From a different ship, a railgun cannon emerged, hidden behind plating that looked cracked and useless. With one thunderous shot, a beam of hypervelocity metal tore through the side of an alien destroyer. The ship split apart, flames consuming it as it spun into darkness. The alien chamber fell silent. A ship had been lost, not to superior energy weapons, not to advanced science, but to something old, something primitive. "Commander," the scanner officer stammered. "Their ships are not what they seem." "Silence," Xylar roared, but inside his chest tightened. On the human bridge, Captain Elias finally allowed himself a breath. "Phase 1 complete," he said coldly. "Release the second wave." Across the fleet, more compartments opened. What looked like broken scars became weapon bays. What seemed like unstable engines roared to sudden life. Human warships, once appearing weak and fragile, now revealed their hidden strength piece by piece. The alien fleet staggered back in shock. Their scanners had promised weakness. Instead, they faced an enemy who had planned every lie, every shadow, every scar. "Commander," an officer whispered, We underestimated them. Siler's silver eyes flashed with rage and fear. He could not admit it, but he felt the truth pressing in. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the predator hiding behind fragile skin, and the first clash was only beginning. The void burned with wreckage. Fragments of alien ships drifted like broken bones, glowing faintly as they spun away into endless night. What had begun as an easy strike was now something else. The alien fleet, once confident and orderly, twisted in confusion. Their scanners still struggled to explain what they were seeing. On the alien flagship, Commander Zylar's claws tapped against the metal railing. Rage pressed against his chest, but behind it pulsed something worse: doubt. "These humans," he whispered. "They fight as if chaos itself obeys them." The officers around him exchanged nervous glances. They had seen the drones pierce shields, the railguns tear apart hulls, and the strange, unpredictable maneuvers that no computer could follow. The humans looked weak at first, but every moment revealed a new layer of hidden strength. One officer dared to speak. "Commander, perhaps we should fall back." "Regroup, fall back?" Zylar's voice cracked like thunder. "To retreat before a species of primitives? No, we end this here." But even as he spoke, another anomaly appeared on their displays. The human fleet glowed faintly in strange patterns. Their hulls rippled with light like shadows moving beneath steel. Energy readings spiked not from their visible engines but from hidden cores buried deep inside. "What is this?" another officer cried. "Our scanners cannot define it. Their ships, they are changing." On the human flagship, Captain Elias stood firm. His eyes reflected the growing light across his vessel. "Activate adaptive plating," he ordered. At once, the ship's hull shifted. Sections that once looked dented and broken smoothed out, hardening into darker, sharper armor. The glowing scars closed, revealing shining alloy beneath. The ship transformed before alien eyes, no longer the clumsy machine it had pretended to be, but a predator ready to strike. Across the fleet, the same transformation spread. One by one, human vessels shed their false weakness. The aliens stared in disbelief as the fragile prey they thought they faced became something new, something built to kill. "Impossible," Zylar hissed. "No one can change their ships in the middle of battle. It defies every law." "Commander," an officer interrupted, his voice shaking. "We are reading a second shield layer. Adaptive, reactive. It adjusts to every frequency we fire." Another voice cut in, panic rising. "Their weapons are charging again. But this time, the energy is beyond anything we have recorded." Before Zylar could answer, the human fleet struck. From the sides of their ships, hidden railguns unleashed storms of metal, not guided by clean precision but raw force. Each shot tore through shields designed to block only energy weapons. The aliens had never built defenses for something so brutal, so simple, yet so unstoppable. At the same time, the drones returned. No longer just piercing shields, they attached themselves to alien ships, crawling across hulls and detonating in bursts of fire. One alien cruiser split apart in a chain of explosions, scattering pieces into the dark. But the true horror came with the human voices. Across open comms, their transmissions cut into alien frequencies. No threats, no shouts, only calm, steady words. "You scanned us. You thought we were weak. You were wrong." The voice of Captain Elias reached every alien ear, cold, emotionless, final. It carried no anger, no pride, only the weight of truth. On the flagship, silence fell. Officers froze, their silver eyes wide. To hear such a message in the middle of battle was more terrifying than any weapon. It meant the humans were not fighting for survival. They were fighting with certainty. "Commander," another officer whispered, "they are not desperate. They are in control." Zylar's claws dug into the railing. His empire had never faced this before. Enemies always screamed, always begged when defeat came close. But the humans spoke as if victory had already been decided. "Destroy them," he roared. "All ships, destroy them now." The alien fleet fired everything they had. Waves of plasma, bursts of particle beams, storms of light filled the void. But the adaptive plating shifted again and again, absorbing, bending, and surviving. Where one ship faltered, another shield covered it. Where one gap opened, human pilots filled it with chaotic maneuvers that broke every pattern. And then came the final blow of the turning point. From deep inside the human flagship, a weapon long hidden came to life. It was no railgun, no drone, no simple missile. It was something born from desperation and creativity, an experimental reactor that bent gravity itself. The weapon released a pulse across the battlefield, Alien ships trembled as their engines stuttered, their systems crashing under the sudden distortion. Entire formations broke apart. Some ships spun helplessly, colliding with one another. For the first time in the long history of their empire, the aliens screamed not in victory, but in fear. On the human bridge, Captain Elias did not smile. His voice remained as cold as the void. "This is the moment," he said. "Show them what it means to fight humanity." And with those words, the humans pressed forward. The turning point had come. The predators now hunted their hunters. The battlefield was no longer a storm of fire. It was a graveyard. Alien wreckage drifted through the void, silent and broken, glowing faintly as it cooled in the endless dark. The proud fleet that had once believed itself untouchable now scattered in ruins. Only a handful of their warships still held formation, and even they burned with deep wounds. On the alien flagship, silence choked the control chamber. Officers who had once spoken with pride now stared in horror at the screens. Each display showed the same truth. Humanity had not been broken. Humanity had broken them. Commander Xylar stood rigid, his silver eyes wide, his claws digging deep into the rail until sparks of metal flaked off. He had fought countless battles. He had seen empires rise and fall, but he had never seen this. "They fight like ghosts," an officer whispered. "Every time we think we strike them down, they appear stronger." Another voice followed, trembling. "Commander, if we remain, we die," the words echoed in the chamber. Xylar did not answer at first. Pride battled against fear in his chest. Retreat was forbidden in their empire. To flee was to shame their bloodline for generations. But as he looked at the wreckage, at the burning husks of ships that had once been his pride, he knew there was no choice left. "Signal withdrawal," he said at last, his voice breaking. The officers moved quickly, relief flooding their faces. The remaining alien warships began to pull away, turning their wounded engines toward the safety of the void. One by one they fell back, abandoning the battlefield they had once believed would be theirs. On the human flagship, Captain Elias watched quietly. His crew looked at him, waiting for an order. Should they chase? Should they strike the final blow? But Elias only shook his head. "No," he said. "Let them run. Fear will spread faster than any weapon." The crew obeyed, and the human fleet held its ground. They did not need to destroy every enemy ship. They had already won something greater. Across the alien systems, whispers would begin. Whispers that grew into rumors, and rumors that grew into warnings. A fleet that had been told humanity was weak would now return home broken and scarred, telling a different story, one that no ruler, no emperor could ignore. The story of a species that hid its true strength. A species that fought with shadows, chaos, and willpower stronger than logic itself. Inside the alien flagship, Commander Xylar sat alone in his chamber. His officers kept their distance, for the shame of defeat burned hotter than any flame. He closed his eyes and replayed the human words that had cut through the comms. "You scanned us. You thought we were weak. You were wrong." The cold voice haunted him. It was not a voice of pride. It was not a voice of hatred. It was something worse. It was the voice of certainty. For the first time in his long life, Xylar felt true fear. Not of weapons, not of ships, but of what he did not understand. He whispered to himself almost against his will. "What else are they hiding?" Back on the human flagship, Captain Elias stood at the viewport. He did not smile, he did not speak loudly. He only looked into the distance where the alien fleet disappeared into the void. He knew this battle was only the beginning. "They will return," he said quietly. His second officer frowned. "Then should we prepare for war?" Elias nodded slowly. "Yes, but understand, this war will not be about ships or weapons. It will be about fear. And fear is already ours." The crew remained silent, but every one of them felt the truth. They had not only defended themselves, they had planted a seed of terror in the heart of an empire. That terror would grow, and beyond that empire others would hear. Other civilizations that had never even considered humanity a threat would soon know. The galaxy would whisper one phrase again and again: "Humans are dangerous." The story would spread not as a tale of victory, but as a warning. Every shadow in the void might hold a human fleet. Every weak-looking ship might hide weapons no scanner could see. Every calm human voice might carry death beneath it. As the human warships turned slowly back toward the stars of home, The silence of space seemed different. Not empty, not calm, but waiting. Waiting for the next move. Waiting for the next revelation. And far behind in the minds of the fleeing aliens, the truth burned like fire. When they had scanned human warships, they had laughed. But they had realized too late to stop the trap. Too late to protect their fleet. Too late to protect their empire. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again.